Man, we are on a roll today, guys. So, welcome back to Let's Play Castlevania Lament of Innocence Part 9. In the last episode, we just entered the Dark Palace of Waterfalls. And in this episode, we are halfway through, and we plan on defeating the boss, and getting the Ice Whip, and moving on. So let's see if we can do that in this episode. Now that I cleared up my storage problem, we should be able to do this for more than 15 minutes, which should be able to get us through this entire stage. Hopefully. Hopefully. Cross fingers. Ooh. Yep, we've got a mini-boss. And this is the Doppelganger. In other words, he's a clone of Leon Belmont. And we're gonna fight him. He's got a quite weird array of moves. He can use the whip, he can use holy water, he can use a vast array of attacks. And he's very, very annoying. He is essentially the Dark Link of this game, but a little bit easier than that. He's very easy to deal with. Now on Crazy Mode, he's a different story. On Crazy Mode, there's two of him, which is very ridiculous. And why didn't I... I'm an idiot. Guys, I don't know if I told you this already, but I'm an idiot. Before I started this episode, I should have went to go... I should have gone to go, get potions and duplicate them, but no, I was an idiot and didn't do that at all. So yeah, that sucks. Sorry about that. Okay, anyway. Give me that. Alright, moving on. Now we beat that boss, we should have one more lever, and then we can get the hell out of here. And then we're gonna go get the Ice Whip. And then that would be the last elemental whip that we can obtain. Am I in the right spot? Let's see. Did we get all the levers? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. Hold up. Gotta go back. I'm an idiot, guys. I already told you this. I already told you this. Wait, what's in there? Cross? What does this do? Oh, that's very useful. Oh yeah, I'm gonna use that one. That's probably one of the more badass moves in this game. Okay. What to talk about? I mean, I suppose we could talk about, Lords of Shadow. I mean, there's something we could talk about. Like I said, Lords of Shadow is probably one of those games that I'm not going to do a Let's Play on. Mainly due to the fact that they're completely disconnected from Castlevania in general. They completely retcon everything in Castlevania lore, and they're just not meant to be taken seriously. But I will say this, as standalone games, as their own games by themselves, they're very good. They are very good games. I love the fact that the voice acting keeps in continuity with Romanian voice accents. That's very good. It's realistic. I like the fact that they change up the gameplay style to a somewhat linear and somewhat Metroidvania style type gameplay-esque. I'm talking about Mirrors of Fate. Mirror of Fate is the is like a semi-Metroidvania, semi-linear Castlevania game. Lords of Shadow 1 and 2 are like God of War clones and Shadow of the Colossus, but they're good. What was I gonna say? But, oh yeah, Lords of Shadow. I already complimented the fact that the gameplay style is sort of like God of War. Yeah, I already did. What was I? I was gonna follow up with this. Yeah, I was gonna follow up with this already, but, let me see this. Okay, yeah, that's blocked off, okay, so I already did Maybe there was just 2 levers. Okay. But anyway, back to Lords of Shadow. So, with those games, I feel like... Man, I had a good point bringing up, too. Man. I had a good point to bring up. I just can't find it. I just can't find it. For the life of me, I can't find it. Man. What am I missing? You know what? It'll come back to me. It'll come back. The point is, I'm not going to do a Let's Play on it, because it's disconnected from Castlevania, and I just don't feel like doing it. Yeah. That's basically it. Oh, no. You know what? Another point of Lords of Shadow. You know, I'll praise it for the gameplay. I'll praise it for the graphics and trying to be unique. I'll praise it for that. But one thing I won't praise it for is the fact that, well, I already said it retcons everything in Castlevania, okay? Not only that it retcons everything, but also the fact that it draws attention to the mainstream Castlevania titles, and it just... I feel like Lords of Shadow is an homage to classic Castlevania fans. To the people that have mainly played Symphony of the Night and the Nintendo games. Mainly with Simon, Trevor, and all that other stuff, and Alucard. They make... Well, here's the problem, and here's the reason why I bring this up. The reason why I say this is because... for 2 reasons. If they knew anything about Castlevania, they would have known that Hector and Trevor live in the same time period. They could have brought Trevor... I mean, no, they could have brought Hector. They could have brought Hector into that situation, and they could have brought him in Lords of Shadow. They could have brought Just Belmont in Lords of Shadow, but they didn't. Heaven forbid, they put Richter Belmont in there, but no Hector, no Just, nothing. Which leads me to believe that they've only mainly played the classics, which is very annoying. Which is why I believe, and you know what, if that doesn't convince you, if all that does not convince you, here's a big reason why I believe that it's an homage to the original classics. In Lords of Shadow 2, there is a line that is uttered by Gabriel, in which he's looking off the balcony of his castle, looking at the destruction of what's going on, and then he says this: "What is a man but a miserable little pile of secrets?" And I was just like, oh my god, are you serious, man? Are you really gonna do that? Of course, like, because every Castlevania fan just has to hear that quote over and over again, because you know how Castlevania is. It has to call back to Symphony of the Night every single time. It has to call back to Symphony of the Night because it's the greatest Castlevania game ever. I hate that, man. I hate that. And you know, I've already explained why I think Symphony of the Night is overrated. Well, you know what? Let me give you some background, okay? Let me just give you an example. Simon Belmont is the most overrated Belmont, for multiple reasons. He has had at least 4 or 5 of his own games. He has had Castlevania, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, then he had Super Castlevania 4, and then he had Castlevania Chronicles. Not to mention the other games that he's had appearances in, like Castlevania Judgment, Castlevania Harmony of Despair, Castlevania Mirror of Fate, Lords of Shadow, you know? He has had multiple appearances and multiple games. That is just ridiculous. And then you have Richter Belmont, who's been in Rondo of Blood, Symphony of the Night, Harmony of Despair, Lords of Shadow. He has also had multiple appearances. Oh, yeah, in Portrait of Ruin. Then you have Alucard. Same with him. He was in Symphony of the Night. He's been in both Dawn of Sorrow and Araya of Sorrow as Arikado, and he's been in Harmony of Despair. He's been in Judgment. So, those characters, pretty much you can guarantee that any character that's been from Symphony of the Night is overrated. They've had multiple appearances, so yeah. You know what? Yeah, they're overrated. I don't care. Because the basic rule for Castlevania is that most Castlevania games focus on one Belmont or one protagonist and then they move on. Look at Juice Belmont. Look at Nathan Graves. Look at Reinhard Schneider. Look at all those characters. Look at Jonathan Morris. Look at all those characters, and they only get one game each. There is no reason why Simon Belmont deserves 4 or 5 games of his own. That is ridiculous. I just don't like it. You know, it's like Castlevania. It's like with Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy tends to work with one protagonist with each game, one story each. And that's how Castlevania should work. With each game, they go by generation after generation with each Belmont, and they should focus on that one Belmont per game. They shouldn't be focusing on him for 2 or 3 extra games. They've had their story, they defeated Dracula, move on to the next Belmont or the next protagonist. Stop focusing on him, he's had his time to shine. And that's why Juice Belmont is my favorite Belmont, specifically because of that fact that he doesn't have that much screen time. Or, you know, that many games to begin with. He's only had, and you know, this is what sucks even more. Speaking of Juiced, Harmony of Dissonance, right? I've already explained why Dawn of Sorrow didn't have the Ayami Kojima art style. And the main reason was because Harmony of Dissonance didn't do so well. That bums me out. Not only because that's the only game Juice Belmont is in, but because of the fact that Ayami Kojima basically just wasted her time and effort to make all that awesome artwork for a game that didn't even do that well. That would irritate me. So, IGA felt like it would be necessary to not have her do the artwork for Dawn of Sorrow, considering the fact that Harmony of Dissonance didn't do so well. And I understand that. But look how good Aria of Sorrow and Dawn of Sorrow did. They did really good. Both of them did really good. Because they introduced the mechanic of using souls. Anyway, I'm getting off track. This is the Ice Elemental. This is where we're going to be getting the Ice Whip. And I should probably equip the Whip of Flames. I should probably do that. Oh, I do not want to get paralyzed. Please don't. That's the last thing I want to do right now. Okay. But yeah, to me, it's just very irritating to see that Harmony of Dissonance didn't get that much attention as it deserves. I really don't want to get paralyzed right now. Okay. Okay, but yeah, that's very irritating. Games, and you know, I've already ranted about this so much already. The basic point I'm trying to make is that, yes, I'm aware that Symphony of the Night was innovative. It brought a new genre to Castlevania, the Metroidvania style that everyone's familiar with. The same style that's been used in pretty much every single Castlevania game afterwards. Yeah, it was innovative, and a lot of people like it, but is it the best Castlevania? No. Is it the best Metroidvania Castlevania? No, it's not. Because there are multiple flaws with that game. I already explained the flaws with the shop, the inconvenient work points, and the fact that money is hard to come by, and sometimes there is a difficulty curve in random places, okay? It's not the best. The voice acting is terrible. There's a whole multitude of different things that apply with that game. So, yeah, I've already explained this multiple times. Symphony of the Night is not my favorite. It's probably in my top 5 at best, but it's definitely not my favorite, and it's definitely not the best Castlevania in my opinion. So, yeah, you know what? In my opinion, the best game for a Castlevania veteran, someone who's experienced at Castlevania games and can handle the challenge, would be Circle of the Moon. Because that is a Metroidvania game that doesn't have a shop in it. And one of the core elements of a Metroidvania game is the shop. Being able to buy items and put them in your inventory. And sell them too. Without that, you run into the difficulty of finding save points, using your potions wisely, and just being careful with your items. That is a true veteran that's a true Castlevania veteran game. The difficulty is there. I'd say, like, if you wanted a Castlevania game to start with, you know what, yeah, you know what, go for Symphony of the Night. If you want to get introduced to Castlevania for the gameplay, go for Symphony of the Night. If you want to be introduced to the Castlevania story, play this game, because this explains the origin story for Castlevania. But there are better Castlevania games out there. There are way better Castlevania games than just Symphony of the Night, and I really wish that the fan base would understand that, because Symphony of the Night needs to chill out. They've had more games, they've had more appearances, more callbacks than anything, and so does Simon Belmont. He's had 4 or 5 games, and that's not fair to the other protagonists. So, yeah. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video, where we will defeat the boss. Belmont Slayer 23, signing off. Later.